haven't really noticed any VHS involvement other than like there's a club at the school that's APAC, which I guess that's like. I haven't really noticed any VHS involvement other than like there's a club at the school that's APAC, which I guess that's like so like proud of their Asian American ethnicity. I haven't really noticed any VHS involvement other than like there's a club at the school that's APAC, which I guess that's like helping. I haven't really noticed any VHS involvement other than like there's a club at the school that's APAC, which I guess that's like helping people feel like proud of their Asian American ethnicity, but I don't think there's like that much VHS involvement other than that.
I think what's important in current Asian American issues in my life and in this geographic context today is the idea of positive stereotypy, which a lot of Asian American students get grouped into.
A myth that's should be able to emulate them. This is completely false. Not every immigrants coming to America to build their way up in the ladder. And for example, this model or this myth impacts Asians who are in need of public assistance.
On one occasion, I actually did really bad on a test because I hadn't studied. So when I got my test result back, I was like, damn, I failed. The person next to me was like, right, got that 93.
I would like to start off with a bit of an apology. We had a video planned, but in the true Mr. Wang curse, the video isn't working. But that's okay, because I have words that I would like to say. Hello, and welcome to the Asian American Asking for Courage Assembly. I would like to thank you all for coming. I would also like to thank all of the students who volunteered their time after school for weeks and weeks to put this assembly together. It takes a lot of courage and a lot of time investment to make something like this happen, and so I wanted to, the assembly itself. I would like to issue an apology. It's not an apology about the video, although that is unfortunate. I would like to apologize to the students who are waiting backstage to come out to talk to you. I'm apologizing because yesterday, when we did the second run-through of our presentation, I gave a version of this speech that was extremely watered down. I've known some of these students for as long as I've been at the high school, and honestly, in the moment, I choked and read them something that I didn't fully stand behind. So, to those students who are standing right there, I would like to apologize. So what you are about to hear right now, only one other person has heard. As some of you may remember, last year I stood in front of the entire school, like I'm doing now, and I gave a speech. Now, I haven't told anyone this, but whoa. That's what I haven't told anyone. Which is funny, because the very next thing I was about to say is I'm terrified of public speaking. Look at me now, Mom. But I actually am terrified of public speaking. I always have been. The reason I'm standing like this with my hands behind my back is because you would see a tremor. So after that speech I gave last year, I swore to myself that I would never, ever, 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 for never, ever, ever give a speech in front of the school again. And well, here we are. By the way, I thought it would be easier, but I'm actually more nervous than I was the previous time, so go figure. But like my dad told me the day he taught me to swim, sometimes it's really important that someone just throws you in the deep end. So, thanks, Dad. Here we go. I acknowledge that for some of you, those of you sitting in the audience, that assembly fatigue might be setting in. You know that feeling right now, maybe you're experiencing it, your foot is starting to shake a little, maybe your leg is starting to fall asleep. That's assembly. People talk at you over and over and over and over and over again. That's assembly fatigue. Or maybe you're really worried about E-Block when you walk into your English class and they say, hey, let's talk about today. And you're like, oh no, this is happening? That's assembly fatigue. Maybe you are looking forward to it, but you're nervous for what people might say or people might do. Either way, that's assembly fatigue. Or maybe you're just really happy where there's another day when you don't have to do anything. It is for those people right now that I would like to have their attention. Engage in such thinking today where you don't have to do anything, especially when the students and I have worked extremely hard to get here. But I'm going to give that word a rest for right now, because I want you to keep listening to me. So I'll just say this. For those of you who are feeling too tired or so fed up, please think about that fact every time someone asks me where I'm from. No, where I'm really from. Please remember that when that happens, I wish that I had more days like today. Every time someone mistakes me for another person who had days like today. And every time I wish I was born white or born in a different country or dyed my hair or contemplated even for a second getting plastic surgery so that my eyes weren't so squinty, I wish I had days like today. And I especially wish I had more days like today when I walk around as an adult human being in this world and I tell people I'm an English teacher. And they get the weirdest look and they say, are you sure you don't mean math? Because it sucks. It sucks when you feel like you don't belong anywhere, and it sucks you feel like you don't belong anywhere because you were born looking a little bit different than everyone else. So yeah, you might be feeling tired in those seats, but I'm tired too. I'm tired of having to jump through mental gymnastics to explain what I do on a daily basis, and I'm tired of Asian and Asian American students coming up to me asking for advice on how to deal with racist comments. And as much as I like and respect the community and the school for coming together and putting on an assembly like this, I'm really tired of being the token Asian teacher who has to give this assembly. So yeah, I'm nervous. I'm nervous standing in front of you, and I'm probably more sweat and like just weird stuff happening all up in here right now. But if I can take 5 minutes to do this, you can take 1 day from the rest of your life to listen to what other people have to say. And by the way, speaking of being a teacher, I would like to take the time to say that what happens in this room, what happens today, you will be graded on. There's not going to be a test. No one's going to grade your e-block discussion. But it will be graded in your classrooms and at college and at job interviews and during moments when you're riding the train or out eating with your friends and a million other places besides. The test is the rest of your life. And the proctors are your friends, your families, and your peers. There will be no extensions. There is no opting out of the test. It is something that spans your entire life. A wise friend of mine once said that he didn't exist as Asian or American. That's a story you're going to hear a lot today. And I think it's a common thread in everything that we experience. But he once told me also that I am not Asian and I am not American. I am a hyphen. I am a bridge between two worlds, both Asian and American. And today, that we call a hyphen. So please, listen to what people have to say. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Maude, and I am a senior at Brookline High School. I was born in Boston after my parents moved here from Thailand, so that makes me a Thai American. Throughout my 4 years at BHS, I haven't encountered a truly memorable instance where I felt discriminated against. Looking back on my experience, I've realized it is because I've always tried to ignore it. And really, it's always the same old microaggressions anyway. These days, if I ever manage to hear anything that seems discriminatory towards Asians, I shrug it off, ignore it, or sometimes act as if I wasn't offended. But I'm here today to say I do hear what gets tossed around on a daily basis here at Brookline High School. But it has never gotten to the point that I would care to call them out myself, except for today. There have been occurrences at BHS where I've witnessed discrimination against Asians, however, and while I've always thought about doing something about it, I never did. But today, I will. I'm not here to talk about how I feel, but I'm here to talk about how Asian Americans at BHS might feel. Simply, you don't know what's going on with another person, so by saying microaggressions and racist comments, you are, without thinking about it, affecting their lives. Not every Asian is a model minority. Not all of us are good at math, piano, breakdancing, and not all Asians are East Asian. Also, not all Asians with dark skin are from India, so stop assuming. By the way, speaking of skin color, I have a brief story. Sure, this individual had the same skin tone as me, but here's the thing. He wasn't Thai, nor was he Asian, but rather he was another person of color who had his name messed up by teachers. I'll be honest, the first time it happened, I thought it was pretty damn funny. But then it happened again in my freshman year at BHS. Not gonna lie, I still thought it was funny. But then it happened a third time, and then I became slightly fed up. I saw that other teachers have misidentified me with the same student and vice versa, and it's happened nearly every year in high school. In every class I've had with him, the teacher has mistaken him for me. If you're wondering, it happened this year too, but I didn't say anything. That's when I realized that this is getting ridiculous, hence why I'm up on the stage speaking to you today. With all that being said, this is a day to inform you about the long-lasting issues within the Asian community at BHS. I'm not here to call people out. I'm here to bring attention to the issues and to educate all of you. You, the audience, should learn from my speech that I'm just a normal human being and that other Asian Americans are just like you guys, who are not the stereotype that defines us. All you need to take away is that my name is Maude. I took Russian math for 3 years, and now I'm in my second year in a standard math class. I hate studying, I don't really like to read, and I haven't played a musical instrument ever since 8th grade. I and everyone at the school are different from each other, and we are all complex human beings. Asian Americans are no different from anybody else. We are more than a stereotype, and we are more than a microaggression. Thank you.
I just want to start off with saying I am terrified right now, like out of my mind. So, thank you. I want to start off with saying hello. My name is Kyle Makaluski, and as you may or may not be able to tell, I am Asian American. For my whole life, I've been hearing from my family that I should be proud to be Asian and that I should be proud of my roots. Like most kids, what my parents told me just went in one ear and out the other. It wasn't until freshman year when I realized why they were telling me this over and over again. Don't get me wrong, Brookline High School isn't a place where we get thrown into a locker because you look different, but it is far from perfect. During a speech, a speaker told people of color to stand up. I was honestly confused because as an Asian American, I was told that I'm not a person of color, but at the same time, that I'm not white. So I just continued to sit. I saw no problem with this at the time, but when Day of Courage came around next year, something that happened that honestly baffled me. We were asked to stand. A group of Asian kids near me stood up. I saw no problem with this until I heard someone mumble, "Are they stupid? Asians aren't people of color." I'm not saying everyone should believe Asian Americans are people of color. That's not my point. The fact that someone found it amusing and considered that they... Throughout my time at BHS, I've become more and more aware of the mentality from students surrounding the Asian American part of the Day of Courage. In some cases, kids just kind of think it's a joke. They either think that the problems that we bring up aren't valid, or they support the stereotypes that out of all the minorities we have it the easiest, which makes our situation and our complaints invalid. These statements are incorrect, and it makes our situation so much worse. One example of this was in freshman year. It was right after being called a chink for my first time, and I was taken back. I didn't know what to say or do. I was talking to a friend, and I don't remember everything he said, but I do remember him saying, "It's not as bad as being called the N-word." And I agreed with him, so I just decided to ignore the situation and hope it was a one-time thing. It took me until junior year to realize that this does not help the situation. I've been called a chink at least once every year while being in the high school. Doing nothing makes the situation worse. It gives the people the idea that it's okay to call us that. I've learned that in order to fix this problem, it's going to take effort from both parties. Talking during this. While we were talking, he just asked me, what can I say or do to help the situation? He doesn't want to be a part of the problem. That's all it takes. If you don't know what you said or did is offensive, or you don't know how to help, don't be afraid to ask. And if you identify as an Asian American, do not do what I did. Don't wait 2, 3 years before noticing that you should actually do something. Don't be content with how things are. Speak up for yourself and tell someone if what they said is offensive, because more often than not, they just don't know. And I know this can be scary. Trust me, I really do know. But in the end, this is going to take a lot of courage. But I guess that's what this day is for. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Sol. I'm a sophomore at BHS, and when I was younger, around 5th grade, I ran for student council and was voted as president. But one of my classmates stood up and told me I wasn't suited for student council because I was just an Asian girl. The Asian people, especially girls, I think of this event every time I have to speak in front of people, and honestly, it just leads me to having a lot of problems with confidence, like right now. And I'm not saying that people like white people, people of color that are not Asian, are the problem. And even though they can be more prone to being ignorant, it's not their fault. The main problem is that at BHS, similar forms of racism stemming from not understanding Asian culture has been the norm for a very long time. But despite this, there hasn't been any change in the last 30 years because our complaints are not acknowledged as legitimate problems. Who here has been called by a friend/classmate's name by a teacher? And mistaking Asian kids for other Asian kids is a very common problem that I've seen every year of attending public school in Brookline. And I get it, it's hard to memorize faces in the first few weeks of school, but after an entire year of being called by a teacher or classmate as another Asian student, it's obvious you're not really trying. And putting an effort into seeing Asian students as individual people is something that will take time, but I think everyone should take the time to do so everyone can just have more fun in their classes, I guess. I also want to address the assumption that you've heard very, very much that Asian kids have to be good at everything, especially math, engineering, and music. And I don't like math, nor engineering, nor music. Because this stereotype has been forced upon us from a very young age, we tend to grow up believing that we have to be good at every subject, that there is no other choice. And this is, in my opinion, of course, the hardest stereotype to get rid of, because a lot of Asian kids believe it about themselves, human, and getting an A on every test, assessment, quiz is impossible. In the end, I suppose most people won't really listen to what I'm saying right now, as I am what you would expect of a stereotypical Asian student, and me complaining about my problems right now won't come across as remarkably important. But the fact that there hasn't been any change for 3 decades at BHS is pretty sad. And Brookline High School, as progressive as it is, it's pretty lacking in an effort to actually make change. So we should take this chance to fix that so that the next generation will be greeted with a better school, more open to Asian students. And as much as I love being able to stand here complaining to a lot of people, I don't want to be standing on the stage complaining about the same things again next year if I do this. So creating change to help me not stand here again would be great. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Vishni.
Hi, I'm Alisha. Oh, wait.
You're simply looking at our brown skin and our black hair.
And completely ignoring the fact that we look nothing alike.
For the past 4 years,
We've sat in classrooms.
cringing with discomfort when you call us the wrong name.
My name is Vishni Samaravira.
My name is Alisha Khan.
Learn the difference.
When did you move here, they ask.
Because when you look at us, you don't see Americans. Where in India are you from, they ask.
Because there is no other country in South Asia.
And it seems like you
didn't pay attention in your 6th grade geography class. Speaking of 6th grade,
remember when you said to me
moms,
that you hoped you'd get an invite to my arranged marriage ceremony?
it has been 6 years.
And clearly, we have not forgotten any of those words.
You made us suppress the beauty of our cultures.
You made me forget
How pretty the henna on my hands was.
how excited I get to eat Sri Lankan lump rice.
How happy I am to wear Pakistani clothes on Eid.
How I hang a giant Sri Lankan flag across my wall, resembling pride I have for my heritage.
How proud I am to be Pakistani.
How proud I am to be Sri Lankan.
Instead of sitting around and complaining,
Although that did feel good to get off our chest.
we used your words of hatred,
As catalysts for change.
driving our efforts to make ourselves represented.
In a curriculum that never included our perspectives,
Our stories,
our history, our voices.
told forget.
That my name is Vishni Samaravira.
And my name is Alisha Khan.
Remember the difference.
Hello, my name is Sarah Tanabe, and this was originally a poem called Off-Brand by Spencer Brownstein. I have adapted it slightly to make it fit my story, but it is essentially the same. I remember after an hour of slurping down soup dumplings by the pound, we were let loose in the streets, greeted by the smell of fish sun-dried and market stalls, and the echo of a language we couldn't understand. Armed with about $20 each, we were free to buy whatever goodies and treats our little heart. It wasn't anything special or anything, but it had dragons on it, you know. It was cool and I wanted it. So I walked into the shop and I attempted to make the purchase, but I was stopped by some other. That was made in China. That's off-brand. No good. The class of my elementary and middle school was roughly 90% white. So me being half white meant I wasn't white at all. Meant the Asian highlights in my DNA were like piss on fresh snow. They only noticed the yellow and didn't want to play anywhere near it. Off-brand, no good. But you know what? I was okay with it. Plushie, yes, but chibi enough to get a laugh and get a pass. For not being the same as everyone else. For not being the right brand. What's your favorite food? Pork fried rice. Lie. Do you know karate? Yeah. But all the lies felt like sake bombs exploding off my tongue, drowning my white classmates in a tsunami of what they told me being Asian meant. Because if I could fit in the kimono they already saw me wearing, it wouldn't matter that those last few lines were all about Japanese culture. They couldn't tell the difference. I fit the brand they saw me in, and I saw it that way too. That is, until I got called eyes. I was just as off-brand as I was to my white classmates. Suddenly, 16 years of following my yellow brick road was whitewashed worse than, and what was left was a brand I had never seen before. A bastardization of white and Asian, the bastard child neither parent acknowledges and wish didn't exist. There's no best of both worlds when neither one wants you. There's no community to fall back on. When every community you've tried to fall back on focus solely on the different shades in your skin than the base tone shared, there's no good that can come from being nothing, from being off-brand. No good.
Hi, I'm Sungmin Cho, and I'm a sophomore. I'm a member of MSAN, which stands for Minority Student Achievement Network. MSAN gave me a chance to learn about the problems of racism that are happening right now in the school communities or even in the world, in the world. And we know for a fact that these problems, no matter how big or small they are, should not have to deal with these problems multiple times in my life. I was born in South Korea and moved to Brookline about 4 years ago. When I first came here, I realized that speaking in a completely different language, I had to extra work to communicate, learn, and make new friends. I didn't want to be seen as an outsider who's from a different world. But because of my appearance and not so perfect accent, my extra work didn't shine so bright all the time. People would often ask me, "Hey, where are you from?" And I tell them proudly, with all of my heart, that I'm from Brookline. And they still ask me, "Yeah, but like, where are you from? Are you like Chinese?" Just like that, my extra work just gets shattered into pieces. Why do I have to listen to these questions every time? Why do I have to feel like an outsider? If you're able to give me a complete list of every single country in the world, starting from Asia and including all their cities, you should never assume where the person is from. And I'm sure that my story isn't the only stereotypes. In order for this to stop, we need a change in society. In order to make a change, a big change, first we have to start small. We have to start from our schools, and even smaller is a great start. It helps make changes in students and in the school. And again, I'm no exception. For instance, last year in math, my class did a project. We collected data about different identifiers and studied aware of not only race, but also other identifiers like gender or religion. I learned that we are all born differently, and that if we have a chance to understand those differences and not to discriminate against those, change can only be brought when we stay open-minded about these projects rather than thinking them as just another tedious assignment. And I truly believe that individuals in BHS are capable of doing that. If we make small changes in ourselves, we will make big changes in BHS. And by the time when we graduate BHS, we will be ready to bring those changes out to even greater society. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Samantha Song, and I'm a senior at BHS. Earlier this year, I attended a conference called MSAN, Minority Student Achievement Network, where students of color interested in social justice activism came together to form an action project for their schools. During the 4 days of the conference, students from different districts came together to deepen their understanding of institutional racism that they faced in their school community. While I was there, I was surrounded by people of different skin color, but there were few that looked like me. Throughout the whole conference, they wondered why an Asian American and East Asian American was part of the Minority Student Achievement Network. Nonetheless, I've received the same looks throughout my times at BHS. When telling people that I participated in such activism work, they questioned why I worked in the area. What ideas did I have to contribute? And what problems could I possibly face as an Asian American model minority student? But I did and do have a lot to contribute, and I did face discrimination. But others didn't seem to think that way. My problems were not as valid because to them, the problems of an Asian American were not as important as any other races. This mindset from society has always been present throughout my work in social justice, and this perhaps could explain the low participation of Asian Americans in activism. Asian Americans' problems aren't valued as any of the other students. I myself began to think the same way, and did think the same way as my problems were continuously put down by others. We, Asian Americans, need to be included in activism, but why exactly is this important? When brainstorming or creating action projects with a group of students, with a low percentage of Asian Americans, their voices will not be heard as much as any other students of color. And during this process, while our voices are not heard, our ideas and perspectives are not brought to the table, ultimately leading to our problems being neglected and no change being made. Today, this assembly was a step forward because our problems as Asian Americans were able to be heard. However, there are still many stories that are left to be understood, so I urge every one of you today to listen to each other's stories, because each story, each problem is worth listening to. So listen. Thank you.
I would like to invite everyone who helped make this assembly possible to come to the stage. Please give another round of applause to the amazing panel of speakers. Years ago, a man named Giles Lee, an East Asian American man, walked the hallways of BHS. Recently, I met Giles at the Minority Student Achievement Network conference, and he described to me the problems he faced as an Asian American student at BHS 30 years ago. Not being recognized as a person of color, having almost no teachers that looked like him, and having faculty and peers ignoring and minimizing any problems related to Asian American students. Their mental health, academic achievement, and the immense pressure that is put on them. It is now 2018, and the Asian American students of BHS still face these exact same problems. I want you to leave this assembly remembering the stories you heard, and let them influence you to think before speaking. Invalidating an entire race's problems has negative repercussions. Recognize that we are people of color. Asia is not simply made up of China and India, but as you can see from the panel, we come from a multitude of countries. Do not look at us through a stereotypical lens. 30 years from now, in the speeches today being made. When I come back in 30 years, I hope for there to be a teacher that looks like me, because I have never seen nor had a faculty member at my school who looks anything like I do. Diversity in teachers influences students of color to form better connections, feel more included, and as a result, thrive academically. I have participated in this assembly for the past 3 years, and while I know it is a powerful, inspiring day, I want you and the audience to know it does not define BHS. Just because we have one day filled with assemblies about race and racism does not equate to the fact that students of color face no problems in Brookline. Don't forget what you heard today. Instead, continue to bring these topics up in day-to-day conversation. For people of color, thinking about our race is always in the forefront of our mind. The next block, E block, is a reflection block for the day. I urge teachers to fully commit to this and provide students with time to debrief. Challenge each other to not only comment on powerful things you heard and learned, but take a step further by brainstorming moving forward steps. Samantha said in her speech that every story and every problem is worth listening to. In order to make change in our community, I urge you to take these stories from the entire day and use them as fuel to improve BHS. It takes every person here to tackle institutional racism. I hope that if I were to come back in 30 years, asking for courage will not simply be a day of the change we have made in Brookline. Thank you.
Yeah.